Okay, part two of overlapping motion using pendulums, or in this case, kind of like a thing with a tail. So what we have, it's pretty simple. It's actually exactly what it was previously. The only reason this kind of looks kind of triangular is these were the cubes. I just took the vertices and scaled them in because I kind of like that kind of triangular tail sort of a thing. There's no keys on these. They are in a hierarchy. This is your sphere. He does have two keys, and all that's happening is he's going to start over here, a nice long ease out, and boom, a hard stop when he hits the block. So if you look at the animation, boom, that's it. Boom. I have my animation slider set up to about 65, less than 3 seconds. That should be it. So we should be able to hit, and then whoa, 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 and then ease out in less than 3 seconds. That seemed to be about the right amount of time. Okay. So again, what I did with all of these, I got rid of all the channels that I didn't need. It's unnecessary, but it makes it a lot cleaner just to work. So, tool I would like to mention to you guys, I used it in class once, twice, but it's actually quite useful, is the grease pencil, and it's new to 2014. You can see one of their lovely annoying green brackets around it up here, but it's kind of neat. It's not the greatest implementation, but it's not terrible. What happens is you create it's basically like a 3D paint. It's kind of a texture layer that sits on top of your scene. It's created on whatever frame you hit the button to actually add a paint layer, and nothing will actually happen until you create a paint layer. So in this case, I can just go to frame 1 and create a paint layer, and I can select the type of marker I want, in this case pencil. You can change the color of it, so if you want blue as opposed to red, that's fine, that'll totally work. You can erase things, you can turn on and off pre-frame ghosting, so it's kind of useful. What I want to just show you really quick is kind of like my game plan for what this animation is going to look like. So we're here at frame 1, and it's going to start sort of like this, down, and as it starts to ease out of its situation, you'll have this, it'll be kind of like this, and we'll just start to kind of drag back. And as we start to really cook here, go like this, and then this will really start to be like this. By frame 23, we're really cooking. So at that point, pardon my horrible drawing here, we are really going to be dragging. When we strike at 24, that's when we're going to start to swoop the other way. And chances are good that by frame 28, that's when I have my other extreme or my overshoot. This is going to be like this. So what'll happen is you can see it pretty much. It'll pull out, the tail drags behind. The faster we're going as this motion picks up, the tail flops up higher. At about frame 24, it's going to strike, and then this over here is just going to go up pretty high like that. And that's the basic setup for what we're going to do. And then as time goes on, and I'll switch my color just to show you that I can switch my color, what'll happen is this will swing out to a certain amount, and then it'll swing back. And over the course of frames, what will happen is this will start to bleed down, and then eventually it will settle in the middle, just like that. So what will happen is all of this will just start to continue in an arc until it settles. As discussed in that video that I posted in the club for you guys or in the group, what we're going to be looking at is what do we do with our pendulum in between the overshoot and the drag. So over here we've got all this drag. When it hits something or changes direction, the tail is basically going to go into overshoot, and as it swings back and forth, we'll look at this side as drag, this side is overshoot, and what we do with the breakdowns is going to be key to making this look realistic. Okay, so that's pretty much the plan. As far as the grease pencil goes, I can just leave that up there, or I can just hit delete and remove it, which is exactly what I did. So let's just start keying this thing out. Okay, so at frame 1, I got this in this situation, which is fine. So this is where we're going to start. So I'm going to just key select it there. About frame 10, we start pulling out, and we're just going to start dragging this back a bit. Maybe something in this vein, sort of like this. Maybe like in the 15, 14 range, something like that. So it'll start to move, and we start to pull out, right? Frame 18, we're really starting to cook. So chances are we're going to want some more height here. So let's just take this up to something like 37. Maybe not even that much. Something more like that. It's really start to really cook. About frame 23, that's about as fast in this direction as we're possibly going to get. So I would say at this stage, we'll just take this up a little bit higher, maybe to about 41 and change. So we get like that, and then it's going to strike. Okay, so at this stage, this sort of feels like that. Okay, so at frame 24, it strikes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start spacing out the from the two extremes with 5 frames, then 4 frames, 3 frames, 2 frames, and that'll bleed down the energy. Because 2 things are happening as you're bleeding off energy, assuming energy is not continuing, is the amount of loft or the rise of the swinging tail is going to lessen, and the amount of time that it takes to swing from one side to the other is going to lessen. So in this case, I'm going to say 23, let's just take it out 5 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to frame 28. And we'll just take this, and I'm going to let this go a fairly high, just because it looks kind of cool like that. Hits that at a nice velocity, boom, it really goes up. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to frame 33, and we'll do the return trip. So here we're up here, we're about a little bit higher than that. So what we'll probably do here is just something like that, sort of a return, all right? Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, take it up to frame 38. So we're up here. We'll probably lose a fair amount of energy, so maybe like that. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're there, and we'll start to really taper off the amount of energy we have. What I'll do now is I'll probably just take it down with a little bit less time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're over here, and something like that. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go to 51. That's our central line right there. So we're up about a little bit more than 2 on this side. So maybe we'll be in there something like this. All right. Because now we're really starting to move away from the original impetus, that strike on that block. So the amount of distance we're traveling, the amount of time it's taking, definitely starting to drop off. So 1, 2, 3, let's go to 54. And again, we'll just take this down sort of like that. Okay. And then, I don't know, 1, 2, do something like that, I guess. And something like this. And 1, 2, we'll go to 58. Like that. And then maybe 1. It's pretty arbitrary on my part. And 2. Take that to 60. So just grab all of these and give this a value of 0. I could have went to 62 or something like that. I just kind of wanted it to die off at the right amount of time over here. But that's sort of our energy bleed. So let's just take a look at this now. Just see the basic rough blocking. Like that. It's a little choppy at the back end. Maybe we'll open that up just again by a frame. Maybe we'll just do that now. Frame, go in here. And this is 58, 59, 60. What we'll do is we'll just grab, make sure I got all 3 of these guys selected, because all 3 curves are here, remember. The timing is just exactly the same. So I'm going to hit W, hold down Shift, and drag that to 60, and grab this one, and drag that to 62. Okay? Let me just look at the energy that we got here. So we got like a full boat here. Maybe this, take this down a little bit more, take this down even a little bit more, something like that. The bleed's looking pretty good. Grab these, frame these down a wee bit. So there, there, this even more, that. Maybe this just a little bit more, something like that. Yeah, it's cool. Nice. There's a couple of things we want to do in here. This is really just even blocking. It's just, you know, not a lot of thought in here. This is just the basics. Everything's the same. You know, I think we can put more loft into these. But I really don't want to do that until we start to actually implement the breakdowns. Okay. So let's just say this is zipping along nicely here. A couple of things I probably want to do is let's see if we can push this a little bit further. So if I can get that swoop to kind of feel more rounded, see how it's kind of leveling off down here? Not loving that. So maybe something like this. You know, this way, look at this, grab this, and do that. This way it kind of rolls off a wee bit. As a matter of fact, I might take this. This is move the time in there so you can actually see what's going on. Hold down Shift and pull that just a little bit. This way I get a little bit more drag. See that tail kind of pulls up just a little bit more. I just kind of like that effect. So when you look at it, it's like, boom. See that? Boom. Just feels like it's the difference between when it really gets some air and it really slaps. Just feels different. I like the kind of contrast between that. Everything else in here, I'm just going to leave the basic curves for now. If I introduce weighted tangents or anything, and then when I'm doing my breakdowns, it just gets really messy to work with. So let's just look at the breakdown here between 23 and 28. We have this and we have that. Okay, so by having 5 frames in here, it's not exactly even, but in a weird way, I kind of like it better because it kind of favors this key. All right, so what we could do is the total animation is there. 26 says it's about there. This actually, that's not bad. Let's just grab these guys and rotate them back a wee bit. Something like this. Something like that. And we might even push this a bit like this. You know? As if it's sort of getting there even earlier. But now you see you're going to get this breakdown. That gets there, and then all of that gets there, and it just feels a little bit nicer. Okay, so now the breakdown is this, from there to there. So now we got this nice long move from there to there. So again, I would say this is where we're going, and it might be even easier for you guys if you're doing this, because it's certainly easier for me sometimes just visually seeing it. If I'm saying, well, where am I actually going? I'm kind of going here, like this sort of a thing. I'm doing this with my right hand, which is why it looks horrible. Okay, and let me just grab a key, grab this, and this is where I'm coming from. Let's go back in, and so we're kind of doing that. And I'm coming from here, so let me just put a paint layer in there so I can see this, right, like this. Right. So it's going from there to there. So chances are we're probably going to want this in the middle here, leaning in that direction. But again, the tail pulling that way, that sort of a thing. All right, so let's go back into this. We'll grab this. And this is at a good point between 28 and 33. And we'll pull that up just a little bit. Grab this. Let's pull this back. Pull this back as well. Something like that. Maybe grab both these guys and do that sort of a thing. So now we sort of get that. And then that gives us a nice bit of breakdown. So let's just take a look at what we're looking at already. So we'll take this, boom. So we're starting to get the breakdown in there. We got to go back in and fudge our curves, but we're clearly getting that where the upper joints are moving quicker in getting in and out of their keys compared to the children joints. And then we start to get this sort of a kind of an offset feel. All right, so we're over here now at 33 and we're going to 37. All right, so let's go in and grab this. Maybe we'll start with a red pencil just so we can keep track of what we're doing. And I'll grab this. Right, and here we go, something like this. Right? Sort of like that. So we're right there. And I'm going to do this. 3, and then just go this, this, and then we're going to do the breakdown from there to there. Okay, so chances are at about 36, we'll go in, grab this, move that in that direction, and again take these guys and bring them back. And this is where you start to get that kind of S shape that you hear about sometimes. A lot of people talk at the extremes, they look like C's. As we go head into one extreme from the other, or from the drag into the overlap, the upper joints in the chain clearly push towards the overlap quicker. The furthest child joint kind of holds on to the drag, so you end up with almost like this S shape. And I think that's where the sense of the breaking of the joint when you do it this way with this technique really starts to, you start to feel that you're getting that kind of drag. So you're in there and it's like boom, and it starts to move, and then you start to get like that. Okay, so that's sort of the move there. Let's just get rid of these because I don't need them. And then mess the place up. Okay, hit the key, grab all of this, and make sure I got these. So that's all of that. Now we're between, where are we now? We're at 38 and we're going to 43. So that's our next big move, which is this. Actually this to this. So go here to here. So what I would say would be, let's go back to 42. We'll push this up just a little bit. Grab this, pull this back, right? That gives us that sense of drag again, which is nice. You can see how it starts to feel. We're getting that, and then when we go in and we smooth those out, that's where you'll get that. But you're getting that same repetitive sort of movement, and those are the two child joints. This offset, these two big humps compared to this. And when we start to play with those with the curve editor, you'll definitely see how that smooths out. So anyway, the next section we're going to do the breakdown on is again here, which is between 43 and 47. So let's look at this to this. So those are our extremes. So if those are our extremes, let's go to 45. We'll grab this, and we'll just push that a little bit. Grab these guys and pull those back. And this one gets pulled back even further. All right. So now we've got that going on. This sort of a thing. You can see where you're starting to get those nice breakdowns. Okay, so we're at 47 going into 51. So 47 to 51. Take this, do this, grab these, pull them back. Just pull this one back a little bit more. By pulling this one back, what I do, if you notice that often, is I'll grab these two and pull them a certain amount. So that kind of adds, let's say, 3, 4, 5 degrees to them. Then I'll grab that last tail bit and just add a little bit more. So maybe this one was actually rolled back 5 degrees, but this one then rolls back 7 degrees. Okay? So the timing on the two is still exactly the same. But because there's a couple more degrees that this one has to deal with, it lags. And that's what starts to give you that feeling of overlapping motion. Okay, so let's just see what this is looking like so far. Boom, that, boom. We get that. Okay. Now let's say we're here at 51. And we're going 51 to 54, not much in there. So there's the extreme, 54. So what I'll probably do is go 53. You'll just take this the slightest amount like that, grab these guys and just pull them back. There's not a lot in here at this point. So it's probably really minimal what we're going to get out of that. Right? And the next now is 56, and all of this is just on 2, so I'm not even going to bother with that for now. All right. So let's just take a look at this. Take. So let's go into the curve editor and actually take a peek at what we got. So on the top we have this, all right? And one of the things I wanted to do was spend a little bit more time on the top. So I could do that a couple of different ways. One of the ways we really think we're going to do is just kind of look at this. Just open this up, just give me a little bit more room. We don't need you anymore. Something like that. Well, we just kind of push you up a little bit. W, and just shove this up just a little bit. Take you, and I'm going to shove you down just a little bit. The advantage here is of just sort of kind of looking to increase the amount of time we spend in each bit of loft. So if I can take these a wee bit, do that. I don't want it to get crazy or anything like that. And I'm trying not to push it beyond the value, but if I can just kind of spend a little bit more time in each one of these, then that would be pretty successful. So grab this, push this up just a little bit. This, grab this, and just do that. And yeah, leave that like that for now. Okay, next let me grab this guy. Again, here we're, got some glitches. Pretty easy to settle up. Let's take this. This one, I would say, well, we'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take this one, just pull us down just a little bit. Just like that. Grab this, maybe pull that up. See what we can do to level this off. This in here. Like that. And that just holds on to that before it switches out. Again, up here, I think we could, what can I do in here? Probably this one, let's see. Like that. Grab this. And just see how much I can get that without kind of really holding on to that and plateauing that edge. Grab this, just sort of like that. So kind of rounds that a bit here. Again, we'll just sort of do this, grab this, and just smoothing these edges out because I don't want them to feel oomph like that. I'm going to grab this, do this, grab this, so like that. This, I might even be able to push that up just a little bit, and then grab this and round that. Grab this and that. And again, down here, this feels sort of like it's plateauing just a little bit. Maybe this, we'll just grab this, round that just a little bit. So now we can kind of round that, and all of this down here I really didn't do much with. So I might do something like this. Now that kind of pushes the impetus of that just beyond the key, but I really don't mind because at that point we're just kind of bleeding out the energy. But I think this smooths it out much nicer. And if you look at the, let's say this one right next to it, I'll hold shift. You see where this one just feels pointier. It's basically the exact same timing. So we just have the same sort of a situation to solve. So let me just grab this. And again here, we'll just grab these and bring this sort of down a little bit. Just grab that, pull this down, grab this, maybe like this, grab this, and bring that like that. Round that whole section off. Just a little bit more. Okay, go up here. Let's round these off a bit. this. Grab these, pull that down just a little bit, and then do, ooh, I don't want that, it's too much. Something like this. Grab this handle, round that off. Okay, so we kind of rounded. Could always just push this one just a little bit. Grab this handle, oops. Grab this handle like this. Okay, so what I'm just looking for is round this off, trying not to go much, a little bit beyond this keys, all right, because it gives me the roundness, but I'm trying to avoid that kind of pointiness we get. So however I can do that without pushing beyond the keys, I'm kind of happy with. So let's just do that. So this way it kind of rounds that a bit. This, probably push this up. Grab this, like that. Rounds that. Grab this, pull it down a bit. Grab this, do this. That. Over here. I don't really have that secondary one, so all I'm going to do is just kind of push this curve a bit like this. Clean this one even a bit more. Something like that. Maybe I'll push this up even, and then pull this down. So I get the idea that I originally had, but I can really round this. So I'm happy with that as it is. Like that. It's not bad. And the rest of it's pretty mellow. Okay. So let's look at those 3 sets of curves. Like that. So that's not bad. Timing's still fairly static on all of these because all my keys are occurring at the exact same time. In using this technique when you're manually doing the breakdowns, you're going to have that, although there's a couple places where I'm going to want it to not be doing that. But if you just look at it now, it's starting to look pretty good. Okay. Only thing left I'd like to change is, see, as we pull out, and then we hit there, and it all is sort of like, see, it's starting to break, but this last key here is just not, it doesn't have enough of a lag, so maybe what I'll do is I'll take this guy's whole curve, and the last one, and I'm just going to see what happens if I drag just one frame. So if I do that, yeah, that's better. See how the parent of it breaks, comes back, and then that other one just breaks just a little bit longer there, like that. I like that. As a matter of fact, let's get greedy and go for a second one. Pop, like that. Let's see what that does to us. Boom, 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 boom. Nice. I wonder if we can get away with that doing this here. Probably not. But hey, you never know. Pop, just do this. Frame, boom. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And there you go. So we're getting a nice bank out of that. I would say if you were going to be doing the exercise with lots of slams, lots of bams, and you're moving this thing around, you're not going to take it out 60 frames for every single one of these. It's going to be a much shorter period. You might have like a 1 second. But in this case, I just took the time because I really wanted to show you my work process. And hopefully that made sense to you. And it's really, once you get the breakdown done, then you can go in and then you can start really changing out your frames and look at the result you're getting and continue the edit from there. And hopefully that makes sense. All right, guys, take care.